The economy slowdown is finally here. Welcome it, says the Wall Street Journal. That's a bunch of bullshit. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Knockin Hard. My name is Curtis Johnson, and today we're talking about just this job market, the economy in general, but also let's bring it a little bit closer to home. What should you be doing differently? We're going to take a look at a couple different major news outlets' perspective on the situation, not because we think that there's anything of major value there, but to point out what is important and what's not important, and mainly, again, focus on what should you do, what should you be doing differently. As you have maybe come to see over the last couple episodes, we're really honing in and talking to individuals who are small business owners, medium business owners, and individual professionals. That's really the core focus here. So you are not surrounded by a sea of analysts deep within your company. You don't have all of these individuals necessarily giving you expert analysis on what you should do with your specific business. So how should you be reading into, for instance, this Wall Street Journal article? And again, the title, Economic Slowdown is Finally Here, Welcome It. And then let's take a different news outlet, Fox. U.S. economy adds 175,000 jobs in April, much weaker than expected. I love this quote that they had in there. The spring flowers may have been blooming in April, but the labor market shows modest signs of wilting. It's so dramatic. It's such just... Take everything with a political lean. CNN on the other end. The U.S. economy added just 175,000 jobs last month, and employment rate rose 3.9%. Now, take the other side of this spin. Although April's job numbers are sharply cooler than the upwardly rising 315,000 gains notched in March, they're in line with what was seen pre-pandemic, and a neutral rate of job growth to keep pace with population gain. So again, depending on where you see the same information, what their political lean is, or whatever spin they're trying to put on it, you're really getting no real information out of it. I think an interesting thing that you should probably take note of, look at layoffs that have been done in the recent time. And again, I'm going to tie all this back in a second to what should you actually be doing, because there's a couple things that you should definitely be considering as your action going into, the rest of this year. What should you be doing differently? But Peloton just cut another 15% of its workforce. This is another 400 jobs. Now, let's be honest. They made stupid moves, and pandemic, they took what happened in the fitness world during the pandemic and just assumed, hey, that'll never end. So that's also a little bit stupid. Google laid off another 200 of its core staff. Nike just cut another 740 jobs. So I want you to note, fitness, tech, apparel, Lululemon closing, a distribution center laying off 128 employees. McKinsey, which is consulting we're talking about, McKinsey cut another 360 jobs in the area of design, data, cloud, and software. So again, that tech is getting hit a little bit hard here. Spirit Airlines, now they're just a shit airline, so that's nothing particularly of note. But they furloughed 260 pilots. Apple laid off 600 employees, and they're shutting down this whole Apple car, exploratory project to build out a car, and then also in their smartwatch area. But now smartwatches, they're in lawsuit territory. So there are a lot of dynamics here, but note that a lot of these companies are across different pieces of the landscape and are all laying off. So that should tell you something. That should tell you that no matter what, you need to probably look at this situation and treat it differently. Now, these large companies are looking at this from the angle of, okay, let's appease to quarterly earnings reports and make sure that our stock keeps going up. But small, medium business individuals, you should be completely ignoring that. That has nothing to do with you. You should be looking at a couple specific things. And again, this is mainly, though, of note if you are experiencing some kind of a downturn. Are you seeing purses tighten up? Are you seeing customers that are less willing to pull the trigger? if these things are the case, you should make sure to pivot. And when I say pivot, don't do anything dramatic. I'll give you an example of dramatic and wrong. Production company that I'm very familiar with, they just laid off 2/3 of their staff and are just honing into a tighter shop. They're lessening the amount of promotion that they're doing. And this is all because times are tough. There are not as many projects available out there. And that's just wrong. You're asking for it to get even harder. You're going to continue dwindling with just the time surrounding you. You don't want to, in these kind of situations, do something that's going to lessen your promotability, the amount of promotion that you're doing. And that's really brings us to this first point you should focus on. You should, in times that are, call it, slightly downtrending, a little tighter, a little bit rougher, you should be kicking up first promotion. Do the opposite of what the market is doing around you. Go in there and promote heavily. Take market share. This is the time to do a couple things, but starting with, you really want to make sure that your promotion is getting increased. If you've obviously seen the last 2, 3, 4 episodes of me kicking off this podcast, I'm taking my own advice. The times right now are tightening, so you should do the opposite and look to expand. Now, is that a general rule that applies to everything? No, but in this case, you want to be taking advantage of the opportunity that other people are tightening, they're contracting, they're pulling their flippers in, and you should be kicking out and taking over market share. So kick up the amount of promotion that you're doing as a company or individually. Part of that might be also if up till now you've just been floating around on a couple core customers, or maybe you're really just focusing on a small niche. This might be the time to not necessarily expand out of that niche, but expand the amount of people in that niche that you're contacting. Hone in on your branding. Really focus on what you deliver that's valuable and get other people to understand that that's the case. You also need to take a look and recognize, since times are changing, you cannot operate in exactly the same way you were operating before. Let's look at this period we went through. Depending on the industry, the pandemic hit you in a different way, but no matter what, there was this just injection of money that was being constantly thrown into businesses and individuals. So it gave this false sense of just of liquidity. Now the Fed has been kicking up, obviously, interest rates, which are designed to pull back on the liquidity or growth potential of the market. So times are definitely changing, and there's a lag with those interest rate changes kicking in. So we're starting to see that actually occur now. So this market is tightening up, and you need to change your operating basis. You need to look at how you've been operating up till now and pivot in some senses. You need to, again, get out there and promote, but also cut out wasteful spending. And this could go in a number of different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to eliminate basic fundamentals, maybe benefits for your employees. That's just ridiculous. But what you can do, there are options out there that I work with very closely to decrease the amount of expense of some of those benefits. You could also look at ways that you can assess projects that you might have in your business and go, okay, are those vital right this second to the expansion of this company? And if they're not, pull back. You can also make some changes, take a look at things and go, okay, this is not business as usual. Maybe I need to get a little bit more strategic. And this could be as a business, but this could be also as an individual. When was the last time you actually talked strategy in the way of taxes? Are you just assuming that the amount of taxes you're paying are correct? These are things that if you really assess them and find someone to build out a little bit more of a strategic approach for your business, for you as an individual, an area of expenses, taxes, that can be a reduction without actually reducing your ability to produce and or promote. Those are key things that you need to continue doing and decrease other areas that might just be nice to haves versus vitally necessary to deliver what you're trying to deliver. So once you've gone through some of these expense reduction pieces, you really, again, like I just said, you're talking about promotion, but you're also talking about producing. What is your service and key product? how can you ensure that your team is actually ready to deliver that much faster, much more efficiently, and at a higher quality? These are the areas where you would still very much bolster. You want to bolster your ability to produce and your readiness to produce. If you're doing these things, you're preparing for the delivery on the backside or on the heels of the promotion you're doing. You can't just kick up promotion and think, oh yeah, my team will handle it. You have to make sure that you have at least some plan in place in order to help facilitate the increased amount of inflow or the amount of leads coming in. These are all important pieces. Part of this might be give if we're talking about you, maybe you're a solo individual, you might need to just take one less vacation or get in there that 6th day or that 5.5 days. Right now I'm shooting this at 1:10 on a Sunday. Point being, you have to kick up the time that you're working, tightening that belt a little bit and get a little bit more in. These are not the same times that they were even 6 months ago, a year. We are talking about this is the time where you can take over some of that market share, or you can get just eaten up like a lot of people in this industry are. Sure, jobs maybe that doesn't apply to you, maybe you're a business owner, but jobs are indicative of what large companies are doing to decrease or to pull back a little bit. It's their reaction to what they're perceiving the market's going to do. So again, these are all different things that you should be looking at of how can I produce more? How can I, before I get to that produce more, how can I actually promote? Do I have quality lead lines that are coming in? Have you just been winging it up to this point and now you really need to expand and figure out a working line that's consistent? All of these things are pieces that you should really look at, but what you shouldn't do is base this off of some Wall Street Journal writer who's saying you should welcome the slowdown that's finally here. That's bullshit. That's just they're just trying to sell. They're trying to sell newspapers. They're trying to sell newspapers. They're trying to put their spin on something so that you can maybe vote one way or vote the other way depending on what Wall Street Journal, Fox, CNN, or any of these MSNBC, whatever their political lean is. They're trying to push an agenda, and you need to assess the information and look at it and go, how should my business respond to the core information, not the spin of the information? So I'll give you a couple examples. You could really assess, okay, how much promotion am I doing in the area of social media? Could you kick up ad spend? If money is tighter, then you don't have to do it on the ad spend sense. Put in the time organically. Go out there and connect into groups. Go out there and connect into influencers who you can do some collaborative content with. Are you doing a podcast? Guess what? Other than, the equipment that you might already have in your pocket, like, let's be honest, this thing right here is better than anything someone was shooting podcasts on even 5 years ago. So you could use your phone, buy a mic, and go to town. You don't have to have like some, high-end equipment in order to get a podcast going. And then you're looking at something that you could really uptick the amount of content that you get out, get content out on whatever social media, focus on whatever social media you feel your client base is on, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, doesn't matter, but get information out on all those platforms. You could do it in a free sense. All of these things are pieces that you could take a little bit more time and effort, whether it's yourself or your team, to kick up the amount people actually know you exist. Focus on improving your skill also in the area of sales. I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, if the economy's tighter, what does that mean? Consumers are less likely to give you their money, which means you have to get better at getting their money. And I don't say this in some cheesy sales way, but if you feel uncomfortable or some of your sales team feel less comfortable handling objections, you're going to get eaten up by the market. You're not going to expand. You're going to contract. Invest in some kind of a sales program. Maybe hop into Grant Cardone. That I'm using his Cardone University, and I'm studying every day some piece of sales tactic, some methods. his objection handling, his closing, all of these little pieces. And it doesn't have to be Cardone, it can be whatever or whoever you want. But the point is, do something so that you can improve this skill, because if you can reach more people and then you can convert some of them better, do the math. As long as you have a quality product, you're going to see greater profits. Improve the promotion, improve the amount of those people that you actually get on the phone, and then the amount of those conversations that you end up closing. And at the end of the day, you have more income into that business. And if you can trim expenses along the way, great, you keep more of that at the bottom end. There are so many of these layers that you could be working on to expand your income. It doesn't have to be some big problem that, times are tighter, so therefore things are going to be a problem. That's the general outlook that people will take. And if you take the opposite outlook of, it's tough, I'm going to get tougher, I'm going to get better, and I'm going to get more exposure, you have a chance to take over some of this market share. So these are all things that you could be doing that give you at least some form of causation. Sometimes I feel like it can feel overwhelming to people. It can feel like the entire market is just tightening up around you, and there is some truth to that, but it doesn't mean it has to be a problem. So take some of these pieces, get out there and promote more, figure out ways that your team or you or whoever it is that you have as a resource is better able to actually produce your quality product, and just keep that cycle going and increase it and take over market share that other people are right now willingly giving up. So with that, I hope this was valuable information. You're going to see a lot more of these podcasts, because I'm taking my own advice, and don't think that this advice comes from me. This is advice that multi-millionaires, billionaires, they make these points very clear. So follow the advice from people who have weathered storms of this nature and come out the other end bigger and having a greater market share than you had the day before. So with that, we're at the end of this episode of Knockin' Hard. Take the second here. If you found some piece of value in this, listen, I mean it. Take a minute, hit share, click that button, send this to someone you know whose business is maybe shuddering a little bit and needs to be reminded the basic fundamentals that they can apply to get back out there. So share this, subscribe if you like this content, like it, of course, and we'll see you in the next episode of Knockin' Hard. Have a great day.